Next up, I'm very happy to welcome him in person, Sebastian Becker. He will talk to us about green tokenization. The stage is yours, Sebastian.
That was too quick. I was still a few steps away. So it's great to be here at Frankfurt School again. It was my last conference, physical one, in 2020. And now we're at least halfway back inside the building, but without the audience. So I'm looking forward to see you all again soon in person. Talking about green tokenization and how to link renewable energy in that case study with financial instruments. Let me briefly introduce you to Riddle&Code for those of you who haven't heard about us. So we are a company that is proud to call ourselves the blockchain interface company, having been founded in Vienna end of 2016 after a few years of trials and prior development by our founder, Professor Fürstner. We are around about 40 people of staff right now, mostly still in Vienna, but of course, after the last year, some remote guys like myself. I'm based out of Munich. We focus on four industries. Our priority is on the fintech sector. We provide banking-grade custody and digital asset management solutions, but we also are active in the fields of the energy and utility markets, the material space, and the mobility / automotive segment. And why is that? Because compared to many other companies, we do also work with blockchain hardware solutions. That means we design custom blockchain hardware components for various projects that involve IoT components. But the basis for what I want to show you today is our token management platform. That's basically the second or third generation, depending on how you count it, of our custody and digital asset management solution. It's a comprehensive banking grade and end-to-end infrastructure that provides you with great flexibility and security for this emerging digital asset space, not only using the software platform, but also hardware wallets or signature devices, as we call them sometimes, to help you with signature orchestration and a highly secure key management. And we end at custody and start at the token lifecycle right at the beginning, token issuance, all of that on an infrastructure that is kind of best of breed and that we control, so we don't rely on networks such as Ethereum with all of the known issues, but we are strictly interoperable. So if a customer, and that's their decision, we are the infrastructure providers, decides to work with IBM Hyperledger or with Ethereum, we don't care. Our platform is fully interoperable and connecting these services. But that's just the intro. I don't want to talk about the details of custody. I think we've seen great presentations earlier today, and tomorrow my colleague Christian Haas will be on a custody panel and present more about our solution. But I want to talk about our real-world projects because, and that's also important for everybody monitoring the space, many of the projects that have been in the market and in development for 2-3 years are getting live now. So we are moving beyond MVP and pilot stage. And our ambition in this segment is to move between the banking grade backends and the IoT front ends, building bridges between these two segments by using dedicated crypto hardware solutions. And that's how we provide a solution for the Oracle problem that we all know. What's the use of highly secure and cryptographically secured blockchains if we cannot trust the data that is coming from various sources, including sensors in the field, vehicles, or corporate cloud areas? Because in the future, if we have the digital euro, thanks to Philip and all his initiatives, and either coming from the central bank or from the private banking sector, then of course we will have industrial processes which will become programmable. And that means we create levels of settlement between the industries and the banking side and settlement layer, and we need to be able to trust the data that is used at the beginning of each transaction. So that's why we're also helping certain industries to build their services up to a level where peer-to-peer trading and settlements are enabled. And that's, for example, the case with the energy sector, where increasing liberalization and, of course, the provision of photovoltaics assets, for example, that are not only in the corporate domain but also in the private domain, lead to a more and more decentralized structure of the market, where you need, in the end, peer-to-peer trading and settlement capabilities. And at the same time, that's a reflection of what I mentioned before. Of course, the business models of the utility companies have to change as well. So what is it that we are providing? And if you look at that chart, basically the terms in bold are describing the capabilities that are coming from such a token management platform that we have. There's an E missing in wallet management, please forgive me. So we provide wallet management, unlimited hardware or software wallets. We provide different solutions to sign transactions and to sign transactions even across locations, time zones, etc. Then you have to have a layer for business management, which we call policy layer, to implement all kinds of regulatory and business rules. And of course, asset management down to the custody level. All of this is based on secure key management that is connected to A or the settlement layers. But special capabilities that we add to industrial processes are, at the bottom, data notary services. So if you give a digital identity to a physical object, as said, be it a vehicle or a sensor or a production machine, then you can basically notarize that a certain measured data, temperature, location, timestamps, etc., are really coming from exactly that one machine. And that enables you basically to create self-notarizing infrastructure within your company or in the context of a smart city, for example. Then we can also enable confidential data sharing. That's something that we are just working on in especially the mobility sector. So if you have multiple parties that are interested in sharing data, but the machine is quite complex, comes from one customer, service providers want to use that data, and somehow the driver is in between, then you need, let's say, neutral instances that allow you to basically benefit from both the cryptographic and the decentralized structure and the highly secure environment that blockchains can work in. And then on top, you see the typical triangle of complex industrial projects. So you need machine IDs to solve the Oracle problem on the one hand side. That's our core expertise. Human IDs are, of course, coming into play if you talk to customers or colleagues. That's something that various other companies are providing in the blockchain space. And then you might need something like a corporate ID, which might be located in the CFO's department. In the Asian markets, you have the corporate stamp, basically. So that's the equivalent. And these three areas need to come together to basically orchestrate complicated industrial processes. And right at the bottom, you also see that all of this needs to be strictly interoperable, not only with other DLTs, but also with legacy IT systems. Otherwise, you would move either into a proprietary dead end or into a situation where you cannot control your processes in the future. And we all know that the industry is still at an early stage. So for us, the fintech segment and our solutions in the fintech space are basically the foundation of what we can deliver in the other verticals. And today, I want to focus on an energy tokenization project that we have just launched in Vienna with Wien Energie, Austria's largest DSO, and which will see a public launch unfortunately only next week. But I can give you a few teasers to what is going to happen and how this looks like. But basically, with our technology, we're also trying to solve the problem of trusted data sources in the energy markets. We all know that there was a lot of you know, cheating if it comes to private energy meters in the past decades. The same with, you know, vehicles and odometer fraud. So all of these, let's say, interfaces between the physical and the real world have to become more secure and more trustworthy if we want to create a programmable industry. So in this case, we released or created a trusted gateway, which is basically measuring the energy production of, for example, a photovoltaic installation. And once you can notarize the output of installations where you have a digital identity of, and you can manipulate or compute the digital twin and distribute the output in terms of tokens to different wallet owners, then you can really trigger a programmable, automated and efficient future industrial service setup. So that's what we are doing. The reference project, as said, is located in Austria for now, but it's also part of one of the building blocks of the German federal government's blockchain strategy, a project about the creation of a registry for energy producing assets. That's a consortial project governed and led by DENA, the German Energy Agency, and we are partnering with the Energy Web Foundation there, where we are also members, as well as Wien Energie. So what we are doing here is to connect the project in Austria, where also devices have IDs, to the ID registry of a German blockchain-based registry that is about to emerge, in order to show how cross-border projects can basically exchange information based on trusted digital identifiers. But let's not waste too many words here. Let's show a few videos. Unfortunately, I have to quickly switch the folders here so that you can see it. So that's the teaser. There is no sound. Do we have sound behind the video? Can I restart it with sound?
It's with sound. Can I get a short sign from the regie if there's sound currently?
So let's hope you got the sound. We didn't get it here on site in the grand auditorium, but I'm sure the tech guys and colleagues have done their job. So this is the teaser for what we are going to launch next week. And here's another video explaining a little bit which are the steps in here and what Riddle&Code is doing together with Wien Energie in this project. So I hope you got a glimpse about what we do there to tokenize not only energy producing assets, but also to tokenize energy itself. And we all know, of course, from the debates over the previous weeks that, you know, Bitcoin is basically also, you know, energy becoming a cryptocurrency. So certainly you can see and feel the relation between, you know, what we are doing in the digital asset space. So at Riddle&Code, we're basically aiming at enabling a platform to launch new products and services that will be required to pave the way towards a sustainable economical and also circular economical processes of tomorrow. But what does it really mean if I say that? We all know that cryptocurrencies have been around now for almost a decade, but right now we still see a certain, baseline that is mimicking traditional financial infrastructures. Of course, we are seeing great new innovation in this space, especially around DeFi, staking, etc. But still, a big part of the use that people get out of the crypto space is speculation, and for sure we need to move beyond that because tokenization means to provide an incentivization layer that should of course not only serve egoistic economical means, but also the well-being of the society. So this means that we have to create incentivization schemes by offering, independent tokenization solutions where the architect of a service or the company that is issuing a service is really in control of the underlying conditions. Otherwise, we could continue to work with Google, Apple, and the others, and we have to combine monetary incentives with tokens that are generated or at least link with the real world and industrial processes there. With this, we can drive desired behavior on the global level, both through the setup of consortial structures where tokens are used for governance, for example, but also on the consumer or prosumer level by incentivizing desired behavior. And this means that we can provide not only corporates, but also entrepreneurial minds with the tools that they can themselves become a bank or an issuer of tokens, be they related to physical assets or not directly. And as a conclusion, at least that's our long-term vision, the token economy must contribute to a future that is automated and efficient, but that will help us as a global society to reach the sustainable development goals by, for example, issuing green bonds that can link the consumption of resources with specific incentives and drives the financial incentivation and behavior alike. And how can you work with us, basically? So we only do selected pilot projects that are either meant to test and prepare a full service launch and gaining insights, for example, into digital asset related processes. Various big companies that are our partners and customers are preparing for the introduction of the digital euro in a few years' time. But sometimes it's also really, scientific research about how to best connect physical assets with blockchains. But then the main service after 3 or 4 years in the market is now to launch new services that show the 360 degrees potential of that. And with the last picture, I don't want to limit myself to say that the new is unavoidable, but here you see one of our, let's say, project vehicles, a Tesla, where we are going to tokenize outgoing mobility data. And that's, of course, coming from this energy project, the closest neighbor, basically enabling fully automated, trustworthy, and efficient charging of electric vehicles, checking both vehicle statuses and battery statuses, and connecting that with the smart city infrastructure. That's maybe the next level of what we are going to see this and next year. So with that, back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Sebastian. I think you perfectly prepared the first question from the audience
Sure.
with the last slide. There's a question regarding especially mobility. Has there been a move, for example, to employ smart contracts in an insurance?
Well, at least from my understanding, almost all insurance companies have had teams, that were looking into blockchain, but maybe the insurance sector, after a few takeovers, has been very busy with predictive maintenance and process optimization. So I haven't seen a lot of, let's say, blockchain-based new insurance formats, but it will be a very important driver because, once insurance companies have understood that, processes or technical solutions are in place to monitor industrial processes like production processes or also automated driving, autonomous driving in the future, then of course, they will embrace this and hopefully offer cheaper insurance tariffs if certain types of secure technologies are applied.
And when do you think will that be the case?
I hope we will see in let's say, low-hanging fruit types of insurances towards the end of this year, but I would think that the peak of this will only be visible second half of next year in 2023. And then, of course, if the insurances open up the delta, then we will have a solid foundation for many business plans because, that's basically then what is in the game and what blockchain technology projects can harvest compared to normal and legacy IT.
Okay, there's been one further question, and it is, okay, how do you make sure
in between? No? Okay, good.
Okay, in 20 seconds, how do you make sure that incentives and accountability issues are aligned with the interests of the ecosystem by those who design the systems you described?
Basically, we need to separate between the infrastructure layer, that's what we provide, and we have spent 3 years in the Swiss financial market in some of the biggest projects there. So the technology layer should enable all kinds of policies, regulatory requirements, and then the design, that is really something that each consortium or each group or each state, they have to define it. And it's pretty clear that we need smart contracts regulation in the future because that's where, let's say, the contents of a project will be decided. The best systems can only provide the best infrastructure.